Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the screen on this MacBook Pro model A1989. This is a 13-inch 2018 model. So first what you're going to want to do is get a Pentalobe 1.2 or a P5 screwdriver and remove all the screws from the bottom. So there's 2 on the top back here near the hinge, and then there's 4 along the bottom here. Just remove all the screws. Try and keep them in order and put back the same screw where you got it from. That's very good practice. So if you were to take out the wrong size screw or one screw, sometimes they're slightly different, you don't end up putting the wrong screws back. But anyways, the back 2 here are slightly longer, but either way, it's always good to put back the screw where you got it. So if it came from there, you put it back there. Alright, so I'm going to just lay out these. The way I remember it is I lay them out on my table the way I take them out. So if there's 2 in a corner and then 4 down here, I'd put like 4 and then the 2 screws like that. You don't need to space them out so far, of course, but if you want, you can do that. Usually I just put them in a little pattern. Alright, so anyways, after you get those screws out, you're going to want to use a suction cup, or you can kind of just go under here if you can pry it up, as you can see, and then I can get my fingernail under there and then I can pop it out. But most people, they're going to use like a suction cup, pull this up, and it helps to have it facing this way so that you can reach around. And then after that, you can get your fingernails or a pry tool or whatever underneath, and then you want to go along the side and then you pull up on this. So what I do is I push down with my thumb on the palm rest area, and then I pull up with my nails on the cover itself from both sides. Okay, just like this, and then you just pull up while you push this down. Okay, just like that, and it will pop out. Then you can go around the center all the way to the other side, same thing. Alright, and then pop the clip. Alright, once you pop the clips, what you want to do, put the MacBook up like this. You want to be careful. If you want, you can put like a napkin or something between your fingers and the palm rest, because sometimes if you don't do this right, you can actually cut yourself on the case here. But what I do is I grab the panel here, and then I use my other finger to push down. I use these fingers to hold the rest of the MacBook up, and then I use the 1 or 2 fingers here along the air vent to push down while I pull on this. And that way, if you pull it really hard, you can unlatch it. Okay, hopefully you were able to see that. And then a lot of times this side will unlatch too, but if not, you just do the same thing, pull down on this side, and it should unlatch. Alright, and then this is really dusty, so I'm going to have to clean that up, and then I will be back. Alright, I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so I'm back. So to clean it, what I used was a toothbrush. I just brushed off any dust that was on it, and then I used this to clean out the loose dust. Alright, did that on both sides. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than before. Alright, anyways, after you open it up, then you want to peel off this little black plastic cover. There are little strips of adhesive on foam pads that you want to peel off. Okay, so just lift this up. Okay, it looks like someone already took this out before, so I don't know if they damaged something. Their screen isn't coming on at all. Hopefully they didn't damage the connector here, but anyways, we'll set aside this. Alright, and then what you want to do is disconnect this connector here. Let me zoom in for you. Okay, to remove this connector, what you want to do is there's a little latch here. You just got to lift that up. Sorry, it's shaking so much. Okay, so you just lift up that latch just like this. Once you flip up that latch, grab the cable. Some people like to pull this plastic tab, but I like to grab the cable as close as I can to the connector as possible. You can use little tweezers or something, but I just grab it and then I just pull it back like that. Okay, once you do that, you can lift this cable up. Be very careful. If you damage this cable or if you break the connectors here, then your battery is not going to work anymore. Okay, and I believe that makes it so that your computer is completely dead and won't work until you replace those. Alright, so once you get that, you're going to need to use a T5 or a Torx 5 screwdriver. And we're going to remove the 1 screw underneath this cable, okay? Just like this. Alright, there you go. Set that screw aside. Alright, and once you do that, what you want to do, let me see if I can show this, but if you tilt this up, as you can see, this metal plate is touching the battery. So what you want to do is get underneath and pull it up slightly. Alright, once you pull it up, it should stay up like that, so it's no longer touching the battery. And then what we'll want to do, let's zoom out here so you can see. Okay, then what you'll want to do is open up the MacBook and press and hold the power button for about 10 to 15 seconds. This will drain any power from the board and will prevent you from damaging the screen circuitry, okay? So this is very important. If you don't do this, there's a very good chance that you're going to destroy your replacement screen or even the whole logic board, and then your screen will never get any light coming to it. Alright, so now that we've done that, you can close this. Okay, so we're going to leave this disconnected, and now we're going to go ahead and remove all the screws connected to the screen. So normally I would keep it this way, but then my head would have to go over, so I might have to actually flip it upside down, so that way this is closer to me, and then it'll make it easier for me to work on. Alright, so to remove most of these screws, we're going to need, let's see, or actually for all the screws for the screen, we'll need a pentalobe 0.8 or P2. We'll need a T3 or Torx 3, and then we'll also need the T5, okay? So first I'm going to remove all the T3 screws, so there's these two hinge covers. Again, normally I would do this facing the other way, with the laptop facing the other way, so it's easier, but because I can't put my head over the computer while doing this, I have to put it upside down like this, okay? Once you remove those two screws, you can grab this piece and then you can kind of pull it back. You have to kind of lift it up so it's at an angle, and then it just comes out just like that. Okay, oops, I knocked over the screws. Let me see here, there we go. All right, then we got to take out these little metal brackets, and then as well as these plastic ones. It looks like they're missing one screw here, so actually a screw on both sides. So sorry, this is going to be a bad tutorial because somebody already messed with this stuff and lost like half the screws. There's a screw missing here too, so I don't know how accurate this will be. Alright, so let's move the two screws for this metal bracket. Hopefully they didn't mix up the screws, because like I was saying before, if you put the wrong screws in the wrong spot, you can actually damage the components. Putting like a screw that's too long and then it screws too far. So again, you want to be very careful with that. You don't want to get them all mixed up like whoever did this one. Alright, we're going to remove this screw. There should be two there, but I'm just going to remove this one because there's only one here. Okay, I'm starting to think that whoever worked on this fried the thing, because the screen just stays completely black, doesn't show cracks, doesn't show anything, and if I move it around it still doesn't do anything. But anyways, we're going to remove the two screws for this. Okay. If this tutorial is not very good because it's missing stuff or because someone messed with it, I do have other models. Pretty much every 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 model is very similar, so you can just watch those. Anyways, after you remove the screws and that metal plate, you want to lift up this piece. I just used my fingernail. You can use pry tools. I recently cut my fingernails a little bit shorter, so it is a little bit trickier, but there you go. Just lift it up like that, and there you go. This is the LCD LVDS cable, and the other end is underneath the logic board, so if for some reason you damage this cable, you do have to take the whole logic board out to replace this cable. Alright, then we're going to take out the two screws holding this black spring-loaded piece. I'm not sure what this does, but yeah, I don't know. Apple just put them there. Alright, then we're going to remove the two screws from this metal plate as well. Okay. One and two. Alright, so now we got all those screws out. We'll set that aside as well. Here you can see these are spring-loaded pieces. We're going to have to take out this wireless antenna board and also all the screws over here. So let's take the T5 screwdriver. We're going to remove the T5 screws first. There's 4 screws holding this LCD board in place. Alright, so you want to remove those 4, sorry. Alright, so we got those 4, and then you'll want to remove the 1 screw here holding the wireless antennas down. Alright, so now that we got the 5 T5 screws out, we're going to, let's see, switch to the P2 or Pentalobe 0.8. Let's disconnect the wireless antennas. I like to get underneath them like this with my 2 fingernails. You can use pliers or whatever. And then you just pull up on the tail, okay? Just like this. Alright, and do that with all 3, okay? Just like this, get underneath and pull it up. This one's a little tricky because it's really close, so you might have to use a little tool or pliers or whatever. So I just get underneath like that, same thing, and then pull up the antenna from the tail end. Okay, let's see here. This one's kind of stuck. Come on. There we go. Just like that. Okay, so now we're going to have to remove the wireless antenna board. So you got to remove all these Pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screws like I mentioned earlier. Alright, so let's remove those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 on each side. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Alright, same thing with this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I just noticed I forgot to remove the bracket from this one, so we're going to switch back to the T3 screwdriver, or Torx 3. Remove those 2 screws. Okay. And then like the other one, you lift this part up slightly, and then you can pull it out, alright? Just like this. Alright, so now we got all of that out. What you want to do is open up, well, actually, let's take out the wireless antenna first. So there's these air vent holes. I like to use that to kind of pull this up, okay, just like that. And then I get around the front and kind of pinch the whole thing. And then you can go on the other side, do the same thing. And then just kind of wiggle and pull it slowly moving towards the center. Okay, and then this should pop up. Okay, so now that this piece popped out, there's still the wireless antennas attached, so you have to slowly like wiggle and pull this back. Okay, this one, it'll help a lot if you use some tweezers when we have to put this back. So you might want to make sure you have some good tweezers. You can also do this, whoa, it actually stripped off some of this black rubber piece. But you can actually do this with like a little needle or something to lift these back up, but it'll be a lot easier with pliers. So I mean not pliers, tweezers. So I'll show you that in a bit. Okay, so we'll set the wireless antennas aside. Okay, now what we're gonna do is open up the screen. Let me zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so you're gonna open up the screen all the way, okay, and then lay the keyboard down on your work area. Alright, so we're going to have to switch to a T8 screwdriver, okay? And then what we're going to do is remove the 6 screws from here, okay? So remove the 6. 1, 2, okay. 3. 4, 5, and 6. Alright, once you get all 6 of these screws out, then the screen will actually fall down like this. You can let it fall 90 degrees, and then you can lift the screen out. You might have to wiggle it a little bit to get the hinge out, but there we go. So this is the old screen. Now we're going to get the replacement one. Okay, you want to make sure to peel off any adhesives that are holding it in place. So I'm going to do what I can. Let's see here. They put some stuff over it. It looks like on this one they actually, let's see if I can peel this off. Interesting. They use some kind of weird foam thingy, so I don't know. I haven't seen anyone use this before with some double stick adhesive. Okay, so now that we got that out, let's see, hopefully we can peel this out. Okay, good. So every manufacturer does it slightly different. Looks like this is how they did it on here. Okay, if your hinges are too far down, you can use the T8 screwdriver. Just stick it through the screw hole and then rotate the hinge. Okay, just like that. Since this one's already open, I can kind of use my hand to do it. It is hard to twist, so it's a lot easier to do it with the screwdriver. Anyways, okay. So now we're going to flip this over, and what we're going to do is make sure to hold these pieces up, okay, the cables and everything. Make sure to hold them up, so that way when you drop the hinges in place, it will keep those cables in there, okay, just like that. Alright, now that you got that, we're going to have to put back the hinge screws. What I like to do is put back the ones closest to the center first, okay. So just like this, and not over tighten them. I just tighten them a little bit because we're going to have to adjust the hinges later, okay? So just like that, okay? I'm going to peel this off because I don't need this for working on it. And this is kind of in the way. Alright, so we got that. So now that we got those two screws in, what we're going to do is close the screen. Close it very slowly just in case it gets caught on anything, okay? I'm going to be very careful. Okay, just like that. Alright, let's zoom in a little bit. Alright, so now that you got those screws in and you got it closed, you want to unscrew it slightly. Okay, just like that. And then the reason you do that is so you can straighten out align the screen with the palm rest. So I like to use my two fingers to kind of pinch it like this and make sure that everything is lined up. Okay, on the corners, just like that. Once you got that, you can tighten it up. Okay, just like that. Okay, and if you want to have the screws hold extra tight, you can use some red thread locker. Okay, so just grab that stuff, and then what you do is you take the screw, put a tiny bit of the stuff on it, that, and then put the screw in. Okay, this might not be lining up right, so I might have to take it out. Sometimes the replacement screens are a little bit weird and they don't line up perfectly, so I might have to line it up first and then put the screw in. So let's see if this one will line up that way. Oops, wrong way. There we go. So I'll put the screw in and then I can line it up more. Alright, then I'm going to line it up this way and that way. Make sure everything's good, and then we can tighten that in place. Okay, then we'll grab the other screw. Same thing, put a little thread locker on there. Okay, put that screw in. Alright, if you want, now that you got one on each side, you can take the ones out that we put in the beginning and then add the thread locker to those. Okay, the thread locker prevents the screws from coming loose, and then sometimes when these come loose it'll start wobbling around, so I like to use thread locker to make sure that it keeps them nice and tight. Okay, if the screws come loose and they start wobbling around, it can actually damage the screw, I don't know what you would call that, the place where the screws mount. Anyways, last two screws for the hinges. Okay, just like that. Pretty straightforward, putting it all back together. Okay, last one. Oh, my cat's coming in. Okay, there we go. I'm going to put the thread locker away. Put back this last screw. Okay, there we go, just like that. Now we've got all 6 screws in. Next thing we're going to want to do, you want to move this board out of the way and make sure that this cable ends up on top. Okay, and then we're going to want to put the wireless antennas back in. Again, I'm going to need some tweezers, so let me grab some of those. Right, so tweezers will make it a lot easier, especially if you have some good tweezers, okay? Alright, so let's use these tweezers. Okay, so what we're going to do is we have to thread this through. There's a little hole down there where it came out from. So you got to thread it back through that little hole. Okay. And then the tricky part is there's a little lip that pops up. So what you might want to do is twist these, bend these slightly so they curve upwards, okay? Alright, so that way now, hopefully when you put it through, they will go up over that lip. Let's see if it works. Sometimes it helps to kind of, while it's in the little hole there, you can kind of bend these wires up, and then when you put it back down, it kind of raises them. Let's see, right now it doesn't want to go at all, so I might have to bend these up a little bit more. Okay. It's having a difficult time going in. Come on. I might have to turn it around and then do it in the way that I normally do, but it might get my head in the way. Okay, so let me try and straighten these wires up a little bit and then kind of bend them so they point upwards again. Alright, and then let's try and get these in. So this is the hardest part actually of the screen install, is these dumb wireless antennas. Okay. Let's see, one antenna's coming through. There we go. So now you can see the antennas are coming through. And then if they don't clear the motherboard or the logic board, you have to kind of use the needle or the tweezers to kind of pull it up above the board. Okay, just like that. Okay. And then there's that also the metal part that the screw goes into. That sometimes will get caught as well, so you kind of have to just wiggle it around. Right? Then you can grab that as well. Lift it up above the board. And there we go. Okay, so that's how you get the wireless antennas back in. Okay, let's see. I'm going to keep it upside down like this. It's kind of awkward for me to work on that way, but probably easier for you to see. Okay. So what you want to do now is make sure that these little screw holes on both sides line up. Alright, and then while you're holding those in place, you can push this piece down. If you did it right, if you try and lift this up, you'll see that this piece stays down, okay? And that's what you want, okay? So now we're going to put back we're done with the T8 screwdriver. We're going to put back the P2 or the pentalobe 0.8 screws. Okay, these are for the wireless antenna. Okay, so got to put back all 6 of these screws. It helps to pinch these 2 pieces together, the metal piece and the antenna, and then put one screw on the far end here first. Right, then grab the other screw that's towards the center, and then put that screw in while you're kind of pushing it in place. Okay. And then that way this will just hold itself. And then you can do that on the other side. Same thing. I really hope they didn't open this and destroy that screen, because it's going to be a pain if I have to swap everything back, and then they're not going to pay me for the repair. But yeah, alright. So make sure that's all lined up. Tighten that down as well. There we go. And now we just put back the rest of these screws. Oops. So if you don't want to if you want to test and make sure your screen is working properly before putting it all back together, You can actually, without even the wireless antennas, just connect this piece, and then you can put the screws for that only. The only problem with that is if you connect it wrong, or if you forget to hold the power button again and drain the power before disconnecting the screen cable, you can actually damage the computer really badly. So I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to actually completely reassemble it before I test it. Okay. Alright, so now we're done with the pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screws. Now we're going to put back the let's put back the T5 screws, okay? So the wireless antenna, make sure you put back that one screw, okay? Alright, to put back the wireless antennas, you want to line them up. Let's see if I can zoom in and show this. Okay, it might be kind of difficult to show, but you just got to line them up. Okay, make sure that they're completely aligned. Okay, once it's completely aligned, if you move your finger around on top, you can see the cable stays in place, then you can push it down. Right, do the same thing with the other two. These are a little bit tricky because you have to bend the wires a little bit to get them into the right spot. And normally this, I would hold it directly underneath my eyes. Right now I'm doing it off to the side so I can record it. So it makes it harder, but there you go, it's lined up. Pop that in. Okay. Just like this. So right now the camera is in the view that I would normally have, and my eyes are further back, which makes it difficult. But there we go, lined it up and popped it in place. Okay, so we got that in. Let's put back the other T5 screws. Let's zoom this out. Okay, so there's the 4 other T5 screws. Again, make sure this is on top. Okay, also make sure these spring-loaded cables are on top. And then I like to just loosely put these screws in first, okay? Alright, so I just loosely put these. I'm going to make sure that I can put all these spring-loaded ones and everything back in. Looks like this one, the little piece that wraps around is not completely there, but anyways, we're going to switch now to the T3 screwdrivers, and we're going to have to rotate this. Normally actually you would put this before you put down the screws for this, so I might actually have to take the T5 screws out. Sorry. Let's take the T5 screws out to make the spring-loaded ones easier to do. Oh, doesn't want to come out all the way. Alright, let's put the spring-loaded ones first. So we're going to need the T5 screwdriver. Only problem is the person that worked on this before, like I said, they lost some screws. But anyways, you got to rotate these spring pieces so that they line up flush, and then just hold that in place while you tighten down the screw, okay? It helps to have magnetic tips screwdrivers. If the tips aren't magnetic, you can get a big magnet and just rub it on the screwdriver, and that will magnetize it. Alright, so we got that. Alright, so now we're going to put the second one for this side and rotate that just like the other one. Okay, and I'm going to make it match and put the screws on the outside ones. Not that it really matters since there's only one screw. Alright, there we go. So we got those in. It looks like this one they have some little screws and these screw covers already, so I actually don't need to replace those. Anyways, now I'm going to get the T5 screwdriver back in. Okay. And we're going to hold this down, line it up, put back the screw. Again, I put them loosely at first. Just like that. Alright, so now we'll tighten them down. I try and make sure that the golden little circle pieces that these screws go on top of are centered when I screw it down. There you go. Don't over tighten these. Okay, just like that. Alright, so now we got all the T5 screws except for the one for the battery back in. So we're going to switch back to the T3. And then we got to plug this in. It usually helps to like push this forward this way to get it to plug in properly. Okay. Sometimes you can just plug it straight down, but other times, most of the time I have to kind of slide it slightly down that way to get it to plug in. Okay, and then push it down. Make sure that it's all connected properly. Alright, and we're going to take this bracket. It helps to hold the bracket, so that way when you get the screw, you put the one screw into the hole. Just like that, and then use this as a guide. Okay. Alright, oops, this is being a little difficult. So, I don't know if they switch some screws and it's weird because it's more difficult than usual, but usually that's how I would do it. Let's see if I can do it this way. See, if I do it this way, it kind of wobbles around too much, so I actually have to use this to keep the screw lifted up slightly. Like that, and then use that to guide it in place. And tighten that screw. There we go. So usually I'll just put it loosely at first, just like the other ones. Get the second screw, then you can use that to kind of make sure it's lined up, and then put that screw in. Okay, just like that. You can tighten it down. Okay. Right, then this metal bracket, of course it's supposed to have 2 screws, but the person lost them. So we're just going to put the one screw. Again, it's a little bit difficult sometimes to line these up, so you can use the metal bracket like slightly raised to make it easier. Alright, so we don't need those 2 brackets, so now we're going to put the little hinge screw covers back on. These are there to prevent the hinge screws from coming loose. On previous models, sometimes they'll come loose and then the screen becomes all wobbly. Alright, put in those 2 screws. Alright, same thing with this. This one. There we go. So last one is the last T5 screw. Okay. This is for the battery connector. Alright, make sure to lift this out of the way and then get that screw in and then just screw that in place. That should squeeze that connector back down. Alright. Let's see, I'm going to spin this thing back around so it's easier for me to see. And then you just got to plug this cable back in, make sure that latches up. Okay, just line it up. Alright, and then I like to use this little plastic tab to actually pull that cable in all the way. Once the cable stops pulling in further, then you use your finger and just slide it over to put that latch back down. Okay, and cover that. I guess that doesn't go back down because the person messed it up, but no, I like to line this up like this and then just rotate it down. Okay, and then you can make sure this kind of goes on top or under or wherever, I don't know. There we go, just like that. and then push those pieces in place. All right, then to put back this cover, what you want to do, let's see here. So you do it slightly at an angle, like how we removed it, but in reverse. And then when you have it at that angle, you make sure that sits in, and then you slide that up. Okay, same thing with the other side, slide it up. And then you should see that this stuff is flush. After you do that, you can push these sides down, push the middle down, and then all that's left is to put back the screws. Oops. Okay, put back the P5 or Pentalobe 1.2 screws. And again, hopefully they didn't destroy anything else on the laptop and it really was just the screen. Some people try to attempt this on their own and then they make things worse. So hopefully that's not the case with this one. I might need to get a hold of a charger to power this on and double check it, but we'll see. Okay, if I do need the charger, then I will be back in a bit. And usually on these, once you change stuff, you actually will need the charger. So let's see here. Okay. Alright, so now we got all those screws in. Okay, I'm going to flip this back over. Let's see if it will turn on or if I need the charger. Okay, so the trackpad's not doing anything, so I'm most likely going to have to plug it back in. Yeah, that's not doing anything. Okay, so I'm going to be back. I'm going to plug it in, and then I'll be back. Once it turns on, I'm going to come back with the screen turning on. Alright, I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so I powered it on, and I guess I was right. They did damage the screen. I turned it on. This thing, nothing happens. So the escape key came on, caps lock light works, but nothing comes on the screen because somebody messed with it. And now they damaged the backlight circuit or something. But anyways, that's how you replace the screen on this. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe. Help others find my videos. And thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. So right now, the way you can tell that the computer's on, if you press the trackpad, you'll feel it clicking. If you replace the screen and then you don't plug it back in, you'll actually notice that you can't make the trackpad click. But anyways, the other way is you can check if the caps lock works, but you have to wait for the computer to boot up. So it is booting up right now. I can feel the trackpad clicking. But no, oh, actually you can see the escape key came back. So yeah, this customer destroyed their MacBook. We replaced the screen for nothing. And yeah, anyways, I guess I'll contact them and see what they want to do because it's not working. Alright, thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.